So today we're diving into a deity who is, well, way more complex than you might first think. When you think of a god, you might picture some ancient figure, carved in stone. And with Nezha, you'd be right. But that's just the beginning of the story. Okay, so at his heart, he's this classic figure right out of ancient mythology, a powerful young boy, literally born with divine weapons and this unshakable sense of justice. This is the Nezha of legend, a story that's been passed down for 1,000 years. But then you'll also see him in a totally modern context. I mean, you'll find him on the dashboards of taxis and trucks, this small figure believed to be a guardian of the road, a protector for people who make their living behind the wheel. And then there's this, a vibrant, larger-than-life figure dancing to electronic music at festivals and parades. So how on earth do we connect these dots? How do you go from an ancient warrior to this? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. All right, so this character is known as the Techno Prince, and it's one of Nezha's newest forms. But this is more than just entertainment. These performances are actually a modern way of spreading positive energy. They bring joy to kids in disaster zones, vitality to the elderly at community events. It's like turning a celebration into an act of healing. So to really get the dancing god, we've got to go all the way back to the very beginning. We need to dig into the original story that forged this incredible, rebellious, and just spirit of his. Okay, so the foundational myth introduces Nezha as this kid who's born with incredible power. We're talking magical artifacts like the universe ring and the red armillary sash. But, power is nothing without a cause, and his cause found him right at the edge of the sea. And right away, the central conflict is crystal clear. On one side, you have the Dragon Prince, Aobang, a total tyrant who terrorized the local villagers. And on the other side, you have Nezha, who saw this injustice and just refused to stand by. You see, his very first act as a protector was to become a fighter. So the story goes, Nezha's just a kid, right? He's playing by the sea, but his magic sash is so powerful, it literally shakes the Dragon Prince's palace. When the arrogant Aobang comes to confront him, Nezha doesn't back down for a second. He fights and defeats the bully, not for glory, but to defend the people who couldn't defend themselves. And that right there, that moment established his core identity. He is a guardian against injustice. And that spirit, that fierce guardian energy, it carries straight through into our modern world. People don't just tell his stories, they rely on him. He's really evolved from just a hero in a story to this personal protector in people's day-to-day lives. Being an eternal child himself, it makes sense that he's seen as the ultimate protector of kids. Parents ask him to watch over children who are sick or struggling, but it's not just kids. His protection extends out to whole families, to drivers on the road, really to anyone who feels like they're up against an unfair fight. And this connection people feel, it's incredibly deep. There's this one really powerful story of a mother whose child was mysteriously sick. After praying to Nezha, she had a dream. In it, she saw a boy in a red sash standing at her door, yelling at this dark shadow, "This child is under my protection. You need to leave, now." The next morning, her child was miraculously better. Okay, so why professional drivers? Why is he their guy? Well, it all comes down to his legendary wind-fire wheels. These things are the divine source of his speed, his agility, the power to navigate any obstacle. I mean, if your whole life is on the road, what more could you possibly ask for in a guardian? And for the people who believe this, it is so real. One truck driver shared this story about dozing off late at night, just about to crash into a guardrail. And in that critical moment, he felt this invisible force gently turn the steering wheel, guiding his truck safely to the side of the road. He said he just looked at that little Nezha figure on his dash, and he knew exactly who he had to thank. But look, Nezha's story isn't all about epic battles and divine protection. It takes this really profound, really challenging turn. We're talking about consequence, responsibility, and the ultimate sacrifice. So, after he defeated the Dragon Prince, the Dragon King gets involved, and he threatens to punish not Nezha, but his parents. To spare them and to take full responsibility for the chaos he caused, Nezha made an absolutely unthinkable choice. He carved his own flesh from his bones, returning his physical body to his parents. Now, I know that sounds like an unbelievable tragedy, right? But it's actually seen as his greatest moment. It was the ultimate act of taking responsibility for his actions. But it wasn't the end. His master resurrected him, giving him a new body made from a lotus flower. This act completely transformed him. He went from being a powerful boy to a truly divine being, reborn without any of those, human weaknesses. And that brings us all the way back around. That spirit of righteous rebellion, that role as a protector, and that incredible story of rebirth, it all flows directly into that techno-dancing figure we saw at the very beginning. You see, the Techno Prince isn't some weird departure from who Nezha is. It's just a modern expression of his core character. It's a way to break down the walls between what's sacred and what's everyday, using a language everyone understands, the language of joy. I mean, really think about it. When you make a child who's lost everything smile again, isn't that a kind of protection? When you bring energy and life to a quiet community event, isn't that a form of healing? The performance itself becomes the act of guardianship, shielding people from despair with just overwhelming positivity. And that, right there, is the ultimate lesson of the Techno Prince. He teaches us that you don't need some big, solemn sermon to lift people's spirits. Sometimes the most powerful way to help is just to share joy, to share energy, and to dance right in the face of hardship. So, from a rebel warrior to a dashboard guardian to a dancing superstar, Nezha's journey is just one of constant evolution. But his story of sacrifice and rebirth from that lotus flower is maybe his most enduring message. It suggests that real strength isn't about being perfect. It's about having the courage to face the consequences and be reborn from them stronger. Which kind of leaves us with a question to chew on, right? Where in our own world do we see that same incredible spirit, that power to start all over again?